Yes, I'm here again, Missa B. And the last time I did a video, we put out some possible suggestions as to how we can address the levels of criminality that is just ongoing and ongoing and without an end in sight. It's easy to be critical. It's quite another thing to try to put some of those thoughts together as to how we can turn the thing around. And again, I made a promise, and so I'm, having looked at the problem for a well, I've been looking at it for a long time. I do have a couple of suggestions, some of which I put out there in the last video. This is essentially part two. But before we get there, just wanna ask that if you like these videos, I'm gonna ask you to just hit the like button, share with your friends, hit the notification bell, so that when the next video drop, you know that is we again, Missa B, and we're looking at just issues that impact all of us. Again, share with your friend, your friends with your own peer groups and so on. But to the matter at hand. So the last thing we looked at is policing. We want to take another look at the other side of crime. Remember, crime is opportunistic. If a man believe or a criminal believe that you know the success rate of his involvement is high, they will always continue to do what they're doing. The problems that we have is that we seem to think that if you go out there, you shoot a man, or police go, you shoot a man, or you lock up a man, or whatever, that is a solution to crime. We have to look at the underlying reasons. And there are some of us out there who try to discount the argument about the lack of opportunities. Well, you better believe that it is the lack of opportunities for people that causes them to think that we can take another route, which is not necessarily the socially acceptable route, but they're gonna do it anyway. So I want to look at two things: communities, how we build communities, and then at the other end we want to look at the whole system of justice in Jamaica, and how that contributes to the our criminal problems. Now, for more than 50 years, we have developed our country in spheres of haves and have-nots. And there are parts of Jamaica, certainly in the corporate area, where if you live in a certain place, you literally can't get a job. That has been the case now, the case since the 50s, the 60s, and it has not changed. I think it was Itana who did a song called Wrong Address, which spoke to, the kind of problem if you come from a particular community, nobody know how to hire. And essentially we shouldn't really be living in a country where, because of your postal code that you live in, you're literally marked for the rest of your life. You can't go nowhere. And so what we really need to look at is how we develop our communities. In the 1990s, when we had the FinSac debacle, where a lot of big money people and government connected people were losing their investments in banking and so on. The government put out about 150, almost 160 billion dollars to rehabilitate that sector. Are we better off for it? The jury is still out. But were we to spend even 25% of that money at harnessing and redeveloping our communities, putting in, making sure the infrastructures that are there, that are maintained, roads, water, electricity, right? Put in the kind of housing stock and encourage people to maintain the places that they call home. Make sure that the garbage is collected on a bi-weekly basis at the very least. Keep the place clean, right? Make sure people have portable, running water, portable drinking water. These are some very small things, but believe me, they go a long way into making somebody feel that where I live is important, right? And then on the other end, we look at encouraging investments in communities, community-based businesses that will employ people within the communities. What happens is in a community, if the when you have a business running in a community and multiple other supportive businesses, the money in those communities stay within those communities. And the longer the money stay, is the more it enriches the communities. Those are some of the things that we really want to create. And then you start to look at the supportive infrastructure like schools, training facilities, public transportation, right? We need to look at as a serious project in terms of how we develop our communities, because it's when the communities start to get run down, right, that what happens is that you have these antisocial groups that now decide to come and insert themselves as leaders within these communities. And then what you did is you supplant those communities now with community policing. You can, if we are encouraging developed communities, not every community going to look like cherry gardens and whatever, but certainly people want to feel that the place that them live, that it count, and it don't just count when it's voting time, when we have a ballot election and the ballot boxes are scattered. Look at a place like Campbelltown, Central Kingston, and the whole of that area. My auntie them come from around that area, and I found it just so incredulous. One morning, I was visiting Jamaica a couple of years ago, and see people stand up on a sidewalk with a water pipe coming over a fence, and about 30 people lining up to take a shower in a place where you have water, road, light, and you have an MP who has been there for 23 years. Those are the kind of problems that breed the level of the kind of criminality that flows. Because what happens is you only see the people as a vote when it's voting time, but you don't see them as human beings who have ambition and drive and desire to get ahead. We need to fix that. And when we start to develop communities, the multiples of these developed communities turns into what we call a developed country, if you will. And people believe now that I have a stake in where I live. And so it encourages them to participate in the process, law and order maintenance, right? Ensuring that, unlawful activity, that you're not going to encourage that within these communities, that sort of thing. And people willing to work with the authorities to ensure that they keep their communities, clean and sacrosanct, if you will. On the court side, remember, it make no sense that we say we want police arrest people, or somebody commit a crime, and when they get arrested, it go to the police station and the case don't go nowhere because it's not properly investigated, right? And the reason why it's not properly investigated speaks to the level of investigators within the police force. We have an island that is just a little over 4,400 square miles. And, if we do some of the stuff that I'm proposing, with that first video where we expand the police force, look at how we employ people to become police officers, and you show them a career path where along that path there is the investigative mechanism, because it is the investigators that make a case. If you don't do good investigation and create a good case file, that case is not going to go anywhere. And so you have to have conviction to deter criminality, but a conviction only comes if a case is properly investigated and presented, so that when you go to trial, the trial judge don't throw it out. That has been a major problem. We're talking about, the murder thing is a problem because we need to go back to hanging. In order to hang somebody, assuming that we were able to do that, The first thing you have to do to hang somebody is that you have to arrest them. And when you arrest them, you need to build a case around that arrest that is going to result in a conviction. And that conviction will result in a sentence that can be carried out. So it don't make no sense. We have this idea of what we would have liked, but we don't know how to get there. Because again, without a conviction, right, nothing happens. And that is the problem we're having in Jamaica, right? The police have this way where they tell you, oh, the crime rate is low because we have this high cleared up rate. Cleared up rate is bullshit, right? What happens is the police pin certain things onto other people, or they what they do is they hide more serious crimes that they're not solving in a lump sum statistic of criminal statistic. And so what you do is you overlay that with a whole heap of lesser issues, right? And you probably, let's use a clear up term to the lesser issues. But the more significant crimes are not being addressed, not being solved, but it becomes reported that we have a high clear up rate, and then they present that crime is done. Crime can't be done if you have murdered 1,400 people a year, every year, right? Crime can't be done if you're only convicting 5 to 6% of the people who you eventually charge for murder. It is very important that people know this, right? Of the 13 or 1,400 murders committed every year, only about 40%, right? That's what 500 and roughly 20 of these murders result in an arrest and a charge. It's very important that we know that. It is even more important that you know that of the arrest and the charge is about 40% of that 500 that actually results in a case file being presented and thing. The rest of them let them go, right? And so for every year that we have these 1,400 murders, the majority of the people who are involved in committing these crimes are back out on the street for different reasons. Either A, well, they never left the street, or B, when the police finally grab somebody, them can't hold them, so them have to let them go. And these people are out there, and the repeat murders continue, right? So unless we fix our justice system, which means that we're now going to look at the court system, we need to make sure we have more prosecutors, right? We have better court system with record keeping and so on. I want to go back to the prosecutors, because without the prosecutors, you cannot win a conviction in a criminal case, right? We need to invest heavily in that, right? Because on the other side, the criminal, they must spend a whole heap of money upon expensive lawyer to tie up the system and frustrate the process, and so keep these criminals and murderers out on the street, right? Again, I don't propose to have all the answers. I am just giving you some of my own thoughts. I'm old enough and have enough experience to know some of the things that underpin the issues that affect us, and I'm just putting it out there. I would like you to give me your thoughts. Let's build this conversation. Let's start somewhere. It's easy to criticize. It's easy to find fault. The big job now is to come together and let's put some solutions on the table. Those are mine. Let me hear yours. Let me hear your comments. Let me read your comments in the comment section. And again, if you like the video, just hit the like button, share, and of course, wanna hear again from you. Peace out.